So it's a 5 steps, and it ties in actually with your beta as your problem, alpha is your reaction, theta is your solution, delta is the application and the effect of that solution. And then the second beta is, did the actual problem solve itself? And if the problem wasn't solved that was initially focused on, you'll never complete a second beta because you still have the same problem.
So delta is actually implementing the solution.
Yeah, well, it's the effect of the solution. So the solution is taking a product, and then what are the effects of a product? So, for instance, the solution was a Fusion X3 bed set. Well, what was the effect of the Fusion X3 bed set? Did they just instantly have their problem solved, or what took place? What occurred as a result of that? And so, for instance, in the case of my example, the person who started sleeping on this bed set actually had a first tough month because they both went through cleansing and detox. In fact, his wife had such a difficult time that he made her, or she made him take the books that were underneath her and put them only directly underneath him to cut down or to reduce the intensity or the amount of transition that she was going through at once. So there was an intense cleansing process that had to happen. Um, as a result of that cleansing process and detox over about a 6 month period, the first month was difficult, but after that, the next 5 months was just kind of little gradual things, stuff that kind of happened underneath the surface. But within 6 months of sleeping on the bed set, all of their digestive problems and food intolerances and everything were all gone. They were eliminated. So that was that would be like the second beta, whereas the effect would be the effect of using the product or the service. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that adds a much more structured format, and then you're actually training your brain and your memory systems to always store everything as a beta, alpha, theta, delta, beta. And the way that they bridge in with the actual wave breath is a medium, slow, medium, fast, medium. Does that make sense? Once you train your brain to always store information that way, then when you write or when you present or when you market, you're always thinking about it that way. Because people are on a conscious level. And when you become aware of a problem that a person has, when you talk to anybody and you say, would you like more energy in your life? Would you like to spice up your love life with your partner? Those are all questions that instantly say, well, yeah, of course I would, because everybody would. They're like loaded questions that people can't deny. Well, in order to really spice up your love life, we've noticed that there's these few problems that are the number one reason why relationships fall apart. And as soon as you have the number one reasons why relationships fall apart, well, now you have a problem, which is a first beta. And as soon as you have a first beta, now you have a problem. Well, now you have a reaction. What's the reaction to this problem that occurs in every single relationship that exists? What's the solution that you're actually presenting? How has that solution affected other people, which is social proof? And then the action step to actually get them that product in their hands, which is using that product. Once they have that solution in their hands, your process is finished because you already went beta, alpha, theta, delta, beta. So you brought about a problem, the reaction that people have to it, you presented a solution, the effect of that solution or social proof, and here's your action. Now you can have that product for yourself. So that person, though, who you just sold the product to, really only has a problem, a reaction, and now have a solution. They don't actually have an effect from this solution yet. They have a foresight, they have a hypothesis of an effect that's going to take place, but they don't have the actual effect yet. So once they start using that product or that service, well, that's where the effect starts taking place. And then if it solves their problem, well, then it's successful. So that's where their circuit has completed. Does that make sense? So there's two different circuits. One is the way that you're marketing and presenting. The second circuit is once your cycle's done, it doesn't mean that theirs is actually finished. Theirs is still only halfway because they have to have that product in their hand before they can take it any further. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The only reason they're buying that product is because you've shown their brain that you understand the product, you understand the problem, you understand the reaction or what they're going through. You present to them a product, and then you take them up to delta, which is the effect of that product. And so you tell them the benefits of that product, but then you also provide social proof of that product. Hey, it worked for these guys, it worked for them, it worked for this couple, that couple, that couple, and this couple. It can work for you. Just buy now. So that's the actual like brainwave sequences. And it's not just a brainwave sequence for marketing, it's a brainwave sequence for all memory. And it's the way that we process, it's the way that we convert. It's literally the entire G-breath cycle is based off beta, alpha, theta, delta, beta. That cycle being fulfilled and having the flow of energy through that entire current. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So as you learn how to do these, and this is the really cool part about business and marketing, is that as you train your brain to see this way, you train your senses to see information this way. And when your senses detect information this way, every single time you hear a conversation going on, you can be like problem, reaction, solution. No, they don't have a solution. But they're thinking about how amazing a solution would be if they had a solution, which is an actual second beta. Because you're like, oh, wouldn't life be amazing if? But they don't have a solution or an effect. They're just dreaming. And so you'll start to see everything based off that beta, alpha, theta, delta, beta sequence. And as your senses are activated towards that, your brain starts storing everything in your brain that way. Does that make sense? So the way that you train your senses based off memory systems and the laws that you apply to them is the structure that all the information will have inside your memory. So once your brain starts storing everything that way, and these are like system upgrades, and it's what I build into Sacred G technology as a way to upgrade the way that memory is stored inside of our brain, so it follows more and more of these sequences. So as soon as somebody comes up to you and says, hey, Mur, oh my God, yeah, you should see what just happened. Oh, yeah, I was talking with my partner and blah, 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 blah. They instantly give you a problem. They give you their reaction to it. And typically they're looking for a solution because they don't have one. They're just simply, most people stop with a problem and a reaction, and then they don't have a solution, so they go into dreamland, which is like a beta, alpha, and then back into a second beta. They're waiting to actually be plugged into a theta and a delta, because that's why people bring everything up in the first place. So once you start programming your brain this way, you can identify where in the sequence that a person is, and then you can fill in the gaps for them, whether it's through information, whether it's just a conversation, whether it's a product or a service or something that you sell or offer them. You can start to identify where in the sequence that they're actually missing their units of information. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really cool.